joining on today. I know it's obviously getting to that kind of crunch time, squeaky bum time. I'm not sure if that's a saying over here or not. It's a football saying apparently someone used at home in the UK, but yeah, squeaky bum time to the end of the year. So I understand everyone's busy and yeah, time is precious. So we're going to try and get through this a little bit quicker than we normally do. Obviously, the questions will be there at the end if anyone that wants to stay on and ask those questions. So hopefully you guys have seen Owen and Dan before, and there's these aren't unfamiliar faces, but if you've joined us for the first webinar, there might be new faces. So Owen and Dan, I might just get you to introduce yourselves. You're at the top of my screen, Owen, so you first, please, mate.
Of course. So yeah, Owen Chambers, General Manager here at the Professional Builder. We help residential building companies improve their margins and buy back their time. So if you're typically between the sort of 1.5 to 8-9 mil mark, then that's our absolute sweet spot. We love working with residential guys in that area, helping them build out their team, build out their process, build out their sales and marketing pipeline, but also get every single project profitable. So making sure that each site runs really nicely. And that's what we do. And we love being here with Buildxact and Xact Accounting with Jules and Dan. So good to see you guys again. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming on board. And for anyone that hasn't worked with a professional builder or a coach or anything like that, like one of the big things that I've learned from going to a lot of events and a lot of webinars and things is that the people that tend to invest in themselves with help tend to be the one that do the best. I mean, CEOs and everything of big giant companies are always getting mentored and help along the way. So even those super successful business people are still getting that help. So never forget that help is available and how much worth it can be. Dan, we've been on a few more webinars, and for anyone that can't tell, Dan is in Queensland. If anyone's in Melbourne, you'd be able to tell that he's not there with us at the moment. So can you give your bit of a shout out to what you do, Dan?
Yeah, we'll do. Oh, and that was a pretty crisp intro, mate. Very nice. So I'm Daniel Wilkinson. I'm head of CFO advisory over here at Xact Accounting. We're a Brisbane-based accounting firm, public practice. We specialize in builders. You know, that whole building construction space, we niche out, so we don't chase medical or anything like that. We just chase builders, and I guess anyone in that builds environment as well. So whether you're a Sparky, block layer, I've got a couple of turf farms in my books. That's what we do. We have a couple of excellent tax teams in here as well. So we do a lot of QBCC compliance, and obviously down in New South Wales and Victoria as well. My lane's a little bit different. If you speak to me about tax, I'll poke my eyes out, to be honest. My world is similar to Owen's. Owen is obviously an expert in his field, upstream and margins. Where I sort of fire up and get excited is around job profitability, budgets, forecasting, margins, protecting that profit. That's my lane way, CFO advisory. That's the short spiel. Jules, thanks, mate.
All margin matters, right? You should get it on a t-shirt. Margin.
Oh, yeah. No, where I'm going to get some propaganda or something like that. Yeah, defend the margin.
100%.
Well, I think because Owen's got the Top Gun branding, so maybe we should all get some sort of movie branding going on.
Yeah, I like it. It pops.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. For those of you guys that have joined, obviously I'm assuming you've seen the emails and know what this session's about. So obviously coming to that end of the year, what you're going to do towards the end of the year through the break and sort of set yourself up for next year. With it being Christmas, we know that some of the payments slow down, the jobs slow down over that period, and potentially for some people that creates cash flow issues. So Dan's going to jump into a lot about the cash flow stuff. Owen, kind of setting yourself up to kind of get into the end of the year and then kickstart the new year on the front foot. I know for me personally, what I'm doing at Buildxact at the moment, like a lot of my stuff starts to slow down now with webinars and events and stuff. So we're really getting together, and you might have seen Sandy post there. Sandy and I are going to get together and just kind of talk about things we want to do as it's slowing down, and then what we're going to do to kickstart the start of the new year. So that kind of planning is really, really important in business. I'm a bit upset that no one actually commented about Ghost. So maybe it's just a me thing that my mum just maybe listen to it and watch it too much as a kid. But anyway, I'm going to throw to Owen to share his screen and take you through his little session here. You're going to see this checklist. Obviously, anyone that hasn't downloaded it, please go and do that. If anyone that can't get it for some reason, it's not working, just shoot me a message, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, if you can't get it, it might be user error, but we won't shame you. We'll.
Thank you, guys. Now people are coming in to support me. You left me hanging there at the start, but thanks, Ed and Steele there. Really appreciate it.
Nice. I don't know the ghost one, but I do know the squeaky bum time. That's Sir Alex Ferguson at the end of the football season.
Ferguson. Yeah, exactly.
The great Sir Alex Ferguson. Excellent stuff. Awesome, guys. So great to have you on the line. Jules was right. We're going to stick to time today because I know that it's a busy time of year for everybody. If you don't have a Christmas party, you've probably got a client asking to be in before Christmas. So I've got one of these timers. I'm going to be setting it to short, sharp, all of value. It is open mic night, so it's always everybody's turn. Type into the chat box if, as we go, you have any questions that need addressing. But you can scan this link before for the spreadsheet. For the checklist, and then Dan's got a spreadsheet a little bit later right there. So today's simple. It is how to close down before Christmas without the stress and the chaos that comes with it. And then, more importantly, come back ahead of the competition, because it's all very well slowing down and shutting down over Christmas and New Year's, but getting back up and running in January, February, or whenever you're back from holiday can either be incredibly stressful and you wonder if it was even worth it, or you can be ahead of the comp and feeling like $1 million. And that's where I want you guys to be, ahead of the competition and feeling awesome. Because when you get this right, Christmas and New Year's can be a lovely time of year. You can be out on the boat, you can be by the barbecue, you can be hanging out with family, you can actually be recharging the batteries. Put your hand up or type into the chat box just a yes or a Y if you're looking forward to any D of the above: beach, barbecue, boats, whatever you're into. Dan, what are you going to be doing over Christmas, New Year's? You got any plans?
Obviously just doing a run around, but probably disappearing to the Gold Coast for 4 days, which would be lovely, right near the beach. And just recharging. It's been a big year. We say it every year, but just recharge the batteries pretty much, mate.
100%. Perfect. Yep. I can't wait. Just like Steve, Luke, absolutely. 100%. Deb, thank you, guys. Yep. Counting the days, Ken. I love it. All right. Counting the days and making the days count. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to make these days count, because when we get this wrong, that dream of the summer at the beach can turn into a bit of a nightmare. Either the clock is at 3 a.m. and we're awake, ready to go, and we're just kind of thinking about cash flow or thinking about the stress of having a business over a close down period. Or maybe the phone will be calling and you're looking at it like, far out, I just don't want to talk to this client. I don't want to pick this up, knowing that your whole team's on holiday and you can't be throwing grenades at them, right? When you get this wrong, it's a real bloody nightmare. And worst case scenario, you'll be looking at the bank account going, shit, where is the money at? I've got a lot of things going out and not a lot of things coming in. So if you're here, you've made the first step of making the right decision, which is playing to win, making the days count between now and the end of the year. You've got a decision. You can either attack the problem, you can own the problem and own the solution. You can play to win, or you can bury your head in the sand and hope that it goes away, which unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, it won't. But you're here today, so you're attacking the problem and you're playing to win, which is awesome. And that's why today we're going to go on the attack and on the defense. We're going to go on the attack by sorting out a couple of really simple things that you can do around your scheduling, your marketing, your same page plan, getting your whole team on board, around making sure that you've got job ads and referrals happening. And then we're going to be going on the defense and protecting your downside as well, making sure that you shore up your sites, making sure that you close down properly, you get a good forecast in place, you get all the money in, and you make sure you inspect your overheads. And Dan's going to be covering that in detail. So today, what we're going to be doing over the next 45 is going to be, number one, identifying your opportunity. Number two, protecting your downside. Number three, establishing a plan. And then lastly, like I've said already, it's Q&A. All right. If you have any questions as we go today, or any clarifying remarks, please type them into the chat box and let us know exactly what you're dealing with so that we can answer that for you. But what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to open up the checklist. Open up the checklist that we've sent through, and we're going to go through in just a moment, and you're going to audit yourself and work out where your opportunities lie. So if you can see my screen here, just give me a thumbs up. Perfect, thank you there. And what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to take just 3 or 4 minutes to go through and give yourself a little bit of an audit on this checklist. If you have downloaded this and printed it, you can tick it off. If you've just got it on screen, then scroll through it and make a note of all the ones that you want to do. All right. And what we're going to do is just after a couple of minutes, we're going to review and prioritize which ones are the most important for your situation, whether it be the negotiating on payment terms, whether it be the assessing emergency funds, maybe the subcontractor holidays needing to line up with when you're actually back in January and February so you can start fast. Maybe you need to tighten up some of your security measures on site. Maybe you need to make sure that things are tidied up and cleaned up, right? Or maybe it's around the removals from projects, the prioritization, even some simple stuff like the autoresponder and the documenting of admin tasks or legal obligations, okay? Or making sure that you can actually work remotely from the beach if you really, really need to, okay? You're communicating with clients, and the list goes on and on. So I'm gonna put some thinking music on now. I'd like you guys to just go through this, take a moment to inspect where you're at and what actions you need to take between now and the end of the year. So I'll let you go through that now, and we will come back in just a second.
I can't hear the thinking music, Owen. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to kick off.
Is that better?
No.
Oh. We'll get the ghost song on at the end of the session for you. Luke.
I have to play out the recording though. I think copyright and all that stuff might cause an issue potentially.
So guys, as you go through this, there's a couple of really important elements that you want to consider, okay? So we want to prioritize the opportunities that are closest to the cash, your clients, and your community. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, Dan's going to unpack all the cash in a moment, but what you really want to do is you want to start closest to the money. Most businesses are going to go out of business not because they've got bad margins, but because they run out of runway. They run out of money. They run out of cash flow. So what we want to do is want to really start around the activities that you can do between now and Christmas. They're going to get money into your bank account, invoices paid, and make sure that you've got a good emergency fund, a good visibility on the cash flows. So you want to start by prioritizing those actions first. Okay. So as you're going through this checklist, there might be, hey, 101 things there that you could do. But I want you to think about prioritizing the ones that are, number one, closest to the cash. Number two, closest to your clients. That's where the cash is going to come from. Okay. We need to make sure that we take care of our clients. And just like I mentioned at the beginning, you're going to get that phone call. You're going to get that phone call on one of the days where you're with your family at the beach, at a barbecue, hanging out, not thinking about work, and a client's going to call you. And you're going to want to be able to pick that phone up and actually tell them what they want to hear, or at least have a really good self-worth that you can protect your team or protect your own time. So what you want to do is you want to over communicate to your clients, and you want a second order of business after protecting the cash is go after and over communicate to your clients. Let them know when you're away. Let them know when you be back. Let them know where their project's at and where it's going.
Yeah, it's a good point there, Owen. I mean, one of the things, especially like on our side, we have those wider conversations compared to you, obviously, but everyone hates I call it the no surprise rule. There's nothing worse you trying to get hold of someone, you can't get hold of them, or you get an unexpected invoice or something like that either. There's nothing worse than that. So I call it, I guess I label it the no surprise rule. Lots of comms. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. It's a really, really important piece. Glad you touched on that, mate.
Yeah, 100%. And then the final area that we want to prioritize is around your community. So that to us includes your sub-trades, your suppliers, your team, anybody else that is, and your family, anybody else that is in your community. You want to prioritize them next and make sure that you want to get everybody onto the same page for next year. One of the key things that and key strategies that I would recommend, and that you'll be sent a download link for at the end of today's session, is it's called the same page plan. And what it does is it reviews your progress over the last 12 months, takes stock of where we're at today, and then lets everybody in the team know where we're going over the next 12 months, so that while we're away, they're going to be talking about the progress that we've made and celebrating the wins and the direction that we're going, so they can start recruiting for you. Because there's nothing better than being at a barbecue over Christmas and New Year's and somebody going, hey, how's work going? And your team member being able to go, fucking crushing it, man. Like, we did some great projects this year, and these are the people that we're hiring next year. These are the jobs we're about to start. You should come and work with us, right? Who here is struggling to find guys at the moment, or not enjoying attacking the labor market? Put a little Y or a thumbs up in the chat box. Because if that is you, then you're going to want to probably get your hands on the same page plan so that you can actually frame up and sell the boys or girls into and enroll them into the vision for the next 12 months, so that when they go away, they know that they're playing salesperson for you in attracting good people and attracting good projects. I think we've got a gap coming up in August, so if you wanted us to do that job, you're going to have to talk with us. I think we've got a couple of projects starting. You should really come and work with us and the team. We've got some awesome jobs coming up. So enrolling the team into the vision of the next 12 months is one of those most important activities that you can do in your community side of things between now and Christmas. It's really simple. It's a couple of slides, celebrates the wins from the last 12 and celebrates the vision for the next 12. And you can do it at the Christmas party or at one of the final toolbox meetings between now and the end of the year. And I think you might have either 2 or 3 of those between now and Christmas, depending on when you close down. So Ed, Luke, Site Limited, Steve, Stacy, Kent, I'll make sure that you guys get your hands on that same page plan. No worries. And if anybody else wants it, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll only be sending it to Ed, Luke, Site Limited, Steve, Stacy, and Kent. And Nick, there we go. And Lee. Okay, sure. No worries. Cool. Okay, and Daniel, and okay, Gary, got it. Sweet. Oh, and Louise. Okay, awesome. See, there are more of you here. Glenn Johnson, good to see you, my man. There are more of you here. See, I thought I was talking to myself. Just Dan and Jules were having this conversation. It turns out there's more of us. There you go. Who'd have thunk it? Okay, cool. Glenn Johnson, I hope you're rocking and rolling, dude. Great to see you here. Awesome. So, guys, type into the box what from the checklist so far is being your potentially lowest hanging fruit. The one where you're like, damn, blinding flash the obvious, BFO. What is the one where you're like, okay, perfect, I need to do that, or I need to prioritize this? which one has popped through for you from that checklist so far that you are going to want to action between now and the end of the year. There are a lot on there, but again, we don't need to do all of them.
Oh, and something I've noticed as well is when people start taking on staff, I think that's when people come a little bit more, I guess, more on the front of like, you know, celebrating, keep the staff engaged, all that kind of stuff that you know, most businesses do that have staff. But I think sometimes when it's a, you know, a small company, family business, you know, husband, wife team, one man band, all those kind of smaller builders, I think sometimes there's maybe a lack of kind of celebrating what's happened in the previous year, which any company that has staff, you always do that kind of like end of year thing. I'm sure you guys do. I'm sure Dan, you guys at Xact Accounting, I know we're going to do it where we talk about what we've done, the things we've gone through, we've celebrated and stuff. But I think sometimes when it's a smaller business, you haven't got that team and it's a family or really close mates. Sometimes I think it's hard to sit down and celebrate that and then do the same thing with the planning for the future. So I think it's important to not only do that with just when you have staff, but if it's just you and on your own, still take that time to look back and actually look at what went right, what went wrong, and celebrate that whole year of work, you know.
100%, because as your team grows, then you know one of the you know big things that you're going to run up against is either you know team turnover. And at this time of year, one of the best things that you can do is advertise. Even if you're not looking for people, you want to test the market. You want to get some job ads up there and make sure that you're advertising between beginning of January and the end of February. And then you don't have to hire them, but at least then you can have people that are new you, new me, looking for new opportunities, come through and apply. And then at least you've got a bit of a bench there, because people don't leave jobs. They either outgrow the leader or they outgrow the opportunity, right? So they either outgrow the boss or the leader, or you haven't set a big enough vision or opportunity in your company for that person. So it's really important that at this time of year, when they're about to walk off, talk with everybody else about how epic their jobs are, that you've set a big vision and you've enrolled them into the vision of what's going on next year. So that's why that's a really big one, really important one. So we've got a couple here. Justin, project prioritization, 100%. When you come back, you're going to be wanting to collect cash quickly. And if your subs are all off on holiday still, then that sucks, right? You're going to run up to delays straight away. Project prioritization as well for Andrea. Same page plan and career path for Brendan. Evan Turner. Oh, good to see you, Evan. I hope you're good, my man. Same page plan, subcontractor holidays, project prioritization, client comms. Okay, cool. You've got your work cut out for you. Let's attack that. I love it. We're on the attack. Scheduling social media posts, personal performance plan, 100% Leah. Autoresponder, Stacy. Autoresponder for Glenn as well. Personal performance plan for Ed. And then everybody else is after the same page plan. Perfect. Awesome. Project prioritization. Yes. Perfect. Awesome. So we're going to loop back to this in just a moment. We're going to actually prioritize these and get a bit of a plan in place. Okay. I'm going to hand it over to Daniel now, who's going to really unpack some of the cash side of stuff. But before he does that, these were the top 5 that I like to get all of my members to attack straight away. Like I said, low hanging fruit, get that job ad out there, because business is built on process and people. We want to always get the best people. Restate and reset the vision for everybody. Remind your entire team as they go away that any referrals they bring in of people or of projects, they can get a referral fee on. Turn your team and your sub trades into your sales team over the next 2 months. Align schedules with sub trades so that you can get back and get collecting cash, okay? And then over communicate to clients. And we like to over deliver here, and that's why we've got a bonus one. It's the site security measures. We want to make sure that we are locked down and we are looking good. So, Dan, I'll hand it to you. You're going to unpack cash. Like I said, those 3 areas that we want to start around: cash, clients, community. So numero uno, that's why we got the big dog here. over to you, Dan. Tell us what to do. Shine the light for us.
Yeah, thanks, Owen. Thanks, Jules. I appreciate the warm welcome, guys. I'll try and keep my section pretty short and sharp. I mean, one of the things I loved about I guess everyone sort of dropping in the chats is I didn't see very many comments around cash flow. So it sounds like cash might be okay, which is bloody lovely to see, to be absolutely honest. But let's not be complacent. Let's make sure that we have good reporting in place, good visibility. We know our margins. We know cash is coming in, all the rest of it. Because every large business I've worked for, you always have a P&L, you have a budget, and you always have a cash flow. And again, as long as you're sort of keeping, I guess, the gross profit under the microscope, cash as a byproduct works out, but all your employees are still going to get paid on time and on full. They're going to pick up their annual leave and all the rest of it. And I guess as business owners, probably everyone on here included, I mean, cash just goes out the door, which is a little bit less fun. But as long as you've got that war chest, you know where you're up to, I think things will be okay. And I think reflecting on the last couple of years, I think cash for a lot of businesses is getting a little bit better, getting a little bit of damage, but I still think the building construction space is looking pretty bright and promising. So what I might do first, Julian, if that's okay, we might flash up the dashboard and go on a bit of a side tangent.
Yeah.
That's all right. So for those of you lucky enough to be using Buildxact, I just wouldn't mind flashing this up on the screen just quickly. And Jules, I might let you run through this, mate. So those of you using Buildxact or about to use it, this has been a pretty serious release, which will actually give you a fair amount of visibility and clarity on margin and cash flow before I jump into the tool.
Yeah, guys. So if you are using Buildxact, this is when you go into the homepage in your dashboard, it's going to show up there in the report section. Really, the purpose of this is if you were using us, what you would have seen before is that Buildxact will tell you, I budgeted 10 grand for this item or this category or whatever. I've spent 5 grand or 7 grand. I'm in the green. That's good. Now, that's not taking into account the fact that you might be, only 30% the way through that particular task or that particular category of work, which obviously means that you're probably going to end up significantly in the red by that point. So what we've done is we've actually expanded the amount of data we pull and show for your jobs. So won't go through every single little thing in detail because we did a whole webinar about that. That is on our YouTube channel. So you go to Buildxact on YouTube, you'll be able to find the recording there with Dan going through every single bit in detail. But ultimately, what we're doing here is we're able to show you where you're likely to end up. If you started to eat into your profit margin, where your cash is at, where you plan to finish up, where you're actually going to finish up, all those kind of things which we didn't have before. And it's really important that you get the hygiene factors right in your Buildxact account to make sure that this stuff is actually accurate and worth looking at for you. And obviously, the more you know about your job and the more you know about how that's progressing, the better business decisions you can make. So where your cash flow position is going to be, when you're going to be eating into that margin and, you thought you had a 20% or 25% profit margin, and it's actually ending up being a 15, 20, 10, whatever that is. So yeah, definitely go in and check this this out. There might be some little behavioral things that you need to do differently in your Buildxact. People that aren't using the job costing side properly. So if you have any issues with that, just please reach out to our customer success team. You can do that in the little help box and book some time in. But Dan, anything you want to add in particular with each section here?
Just quickly, and then we'll sort of jump on the cash flow. But this has probably been about 1.5 years in the making, and this sort of rewards those people that have good data, good processes, good estimating, very micro in how they manage their business, which would be my expectations as your CFO. And the reward of that is financial clarity. Yeah, I guess builders spend all this time building out quotes and lines and second bathroom and tiling and cladding, all the rest of it. Well, why not? Why wouldn't you measure your performance against it? This is the scorecard in your business, not just overall for the business, but job by job. And this does give you clarity as to how your margin is progressing. This is how much money you're hoping to make. This is what you're tearing up. Because, for example, just really quickly, like if you had a tiler coming out to do bathroom 2 and you've estimated 10 grand and the invoice comes in at 10 grand, in my word, I couldn't care. It's on budget, move on. If it's coming at 12 grand, out of that $100,000 you're hoping to make, you've just torn up 2. So now you're left with 98. And in my world, I want to have each of those invoices that come in. It's almost like a micro profit and loss statement. And then this dashboard aggregates it up, but it's reliant on really good data. So I think there's some pretty powerful reporting. Some other platforms use it, but I mean, having this sort of rolled out, I'm trying to remove the bias here as well, because obviously we've helped out Buildxact build this. It just makes them such a strong competitor in the market for this when you sort of stack them against other providers too. So if you haven't checked it out, or you're looking at different platforms, definitely look at it. Yeah, it's definitely worth the time and investment, especially next year. If you have like a lot of personal planning, if you haven't got a decent tech piece in the background and you're still using spreadsheets, it's time to level up, otherwise you get left behind.
Yeah, Tracy, I actually thought it was released in New Zealand, but if it's not, I just messaged the product manager just there, so I'll hopefully have an answer for you very, very shortly.
All right. Well, look, I mean, given that cash isn't a huge priority for a lot of people, which is a bit of a relief actually, and really nice to see. I'll push through this fairly quickly. There was a QR code that was sort of brought up before, which is available to download. It's on our Xact accounting website too. We have a YouTube channel which will sort of talk through this, and we'll actually release a video with this release too for those that are registered. But I just want to run through this, I guess, this critical cash flow tool separately, and then I'll just talk about a couple of like the light strategies you can do if cash is getting tight, pretty close to the wire. Because sometimes when you do sort of flush out all those invoices to the bank or to the clients, there can be some material money tied up in that. It might be 100K, 200K, 300K. And then when you look at the profit you should be making each month, I mean, there could be 4 or 5 months worth of profit tied up in one claim. And if the bank misses it or gets pushed to next month, I mean, it'll really blow the back out of your business. And it can be a little bit scary. So I'm not trying to generate fear around this. I'm just trying to sort of pull everyone in and just to respect this process, because cash flow isn't an accounting thing. It's a business owner thing. And every business, in my world, absolutely has one. All of my clients do. And we talk about it. And if there's plenty of cash and it's all green, well, that's fine. But if stuff starts getting pretty dangerous or you can't make payments to the ATO, it's probably a symptom of poor performing profit, or we're just not across our cash flow, which circling back, which is why we're here. All right. So this is
Sorry, couldn't agree more. Just to re-emphasize what Dan said, like, you get in business what you tolerate, not what you deserve. And you feel like you deserve like a great holiday at the end of the year. But guys, like, if you tolerate not getting all your invoices in, or you tolerate, not getting all your debtors in and the invoices out and making sure that the money is paid, then you're not going to be able to enjoy what you deserve. Like, you got to have a really hard line on this and attack this problem today, because basically December, Friday, like, countdown is on and we got to get this sorted. So if you're not across this massively, then listen to Dan. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I think as well, Owen, is that like what I tend to find from speaking to a lot of builders is that I think we tend to see people having issues when the issue is already there, rather than going 3 months out, I might be a little bit tight. So can I work on something to help ensure that if something does happen, I'm not in trouble? And kind of the further out that that, obviously the better.
That's awesome, guys. I'm charged on in, but yeah, guys, please throw out questions in the chat. I mean, you got some pretty serious talent here, Julian and Owen as well. Make the most of this, but I'll probably try and push through this in about 15 minutes. Just to reiterate again, I mean, there's nothing to be scared of with the cash flow. Anything outside sort of 12 to 16 weeks is going to become pretty rubbery. So this is a real short-term cash flow. And the reason why we're sort of focusing on Christmas is, if people are down in tools for 2 or 3 weeks, you're not generating cost, but then you're not generating profit either. Because theoretically, for every dollar you spend, you should be generating, $1.20, $1.25 in revenue. Well, one minus the other is profit. So the vacuum to that's obviously going to be cash. And I can't stress enough, a cash flow isn't your accountant's tool or your tax accountant's tool. It's a business owner's tool. And I just can't stress that enough. So if it's not in your toolkit, you don't have to have it there all the time. But if you're starting to, I guess, feel a bit of the pinch, or you're getting nervous about that next BAS payment or super payment, absolutely have this in your toolkit and either have it next to you on your desktop, whatever it happens to be. But otherwise, I will jump on in. So this is the cash flow tool we'll be releasing at the end of the webinar. There'll be a QR code, I think, at the end, Owen. But what you're looking at here is that this is sort of broken up into a couple of areas, and just bear with me and I'll go nice and slow with this one. I'm quite a visual person. So what you're looking up in here is this is a bit of a cash flow snapshot for the business for the next 4 months, December, January, February, March. This big green bar here is all cash coming in, and we'll talk about the inputs to that very shortly. So theoretically, you want these green bars to be bigger than the reds. The reds are the cash outflows. So for those that are quite visual, this will probably go a long way with you. And then the blue line here, you can see our zero line as far as available cash goes. If that blue line dips below the zero, you're going to be in a fair bit of trouble. You need to take some action and to try and correct the ship pretty quickly. So in this instance here, I've just dropped in some dummy data, and we'll actually talk about some of the strategies we do here. And you've looked at it, you've tweaked it, you've massaged claims through. What can we actually do to get us through here? Because when you look over here to March, we're actually coming out okay. So this will be BAS and Super and a couple of other little curly things in here as well. On the other side, you might be generating profit, but you can have a cash value, I guess, a cash vacuum here overall. So just be really careful about that. In this section here, this is your cash summary. So what we try and do here is that if you want to have this rolling as a 4 months, there's no formulas in the spreadsheet at all. You can change it to December, January, February, March, change these out, but anything outside this period will start to get a little bit curly. But we're just going to start with December. And up here is your opening cash balance. So it's really important to get this number right. So when I talk about opening cash, I'm talking about as of the 1st of December, look at all your bank accounts and go, right, what are the opening balances that are sitting in there? What you also want to do too is go, well, what, as far as credit cards go, and I guess other debt instruments that you might have in the business, you might have a 20 grand credit card that you can lean on, but it's not maxed out, there's nothing on it. Add that 20 grand into there as well. If you have an overdraft in there, you want to add that $100,000 in, because what we're trying to measure here is how much cash is available to you, not just the bank balance there. What you can do as business owners as well, so probably less so for, senior managers or general managers, if you are on here, but you might want to sort of put in your personal cash balance too, because this is almost, a bit of an emergency funding liquidity position, not just for your business, but for you as a whole, because obviously you're both intertwined here too. So this opening cash, you want that to be as accurate as possible. Otherwise, the rest is going to get pretty rubbery. And then what happens here is that from the inputs, you have all your cash in. So debtors, government handouts, you might get a tax refund. I don't know. So this is the sum of the cash in, sum of the cash out. So creditors, ATO, tax office, work cover with their direct debits, car loan, stuff like that. So if you get opening balance plus cash in, less cash out, that gives you closing balance. And what you're looking at here, well, you're still in the black, so stuff's looking all right. Now, depending on the data you enter back here, this will sort of bounce up and down, up and down. This here makes me a little bit nervous, but hopefully you sort of sense test this, does a pass or sniff test. Don't fabricate these numbers. Take a bit of a positive view on it, then take a bit of a pessimistic view and go, well, is stuff okay? This here, there's a bit of damage there. So when you do plug the data in, you want to go, well, what's the story that it tells me here? It looks like December, January is okay, but all this sort of cash and the rest of it, ATM and all that, you're about to have a bit of a blowout here in February. So we'll talk about, strategies to try and lift that and mitigate that as best we can, smooth it, whatever it happens to be. So this here is the summary. Opening cash, closing cash, that rolls over, and away you go. So as far as building this spreadsheet together, I'd probably jump across here the customer inputs first, and I think a lot of you will be well across this. So in this first section, this is broken up into two parts. One is project cash payments. So keep in mind, this is an invoices raised. This is where you're expecting the cash to come in, and it includes GST. So your P&L, for example, doesn't include GST because the government keeps that, but this is the cash conversation. So if you're running a $200,000 claim, pick up $220,000 in here and try and work out where that money is going to come in. So to Owen's point before around communication and clients and all the rest of it, make sure you have those strong conversations with the client, with the broker. Hey, I'm about to send you stage 4 or whatever it is. Have you got any problems with it? Are you going to sign it off? You're going to send it to your bank? Really micro measure that conversation, really massage that process through, because I can't stress how important it is. Just because you flick the invoice out doesn't mean it's going to get paid on time. Help the process, manage it, and push it through the snake. I see it happen all the time. Just because the invoice lands, it goes out, doesn't mean you're going to get paid. Just be careful.
Yeah. These invoices at this time of year might need a handwritten note and a chocolate bar or lollipop just to make sure they get paid first.
Whatever works to get that cash in, bribery, whatever it happens to be. Yeah, definitely help the process through. Lots of communication. That's first and foremost. So when you are filling out this section here, I'd almost itemize out your individual projects. So whether it's Buildxact project numbers or estimate numbers or street addresses, try and forecast out the claims. And everyone loves this section because it's cash in, so you should be pretty good at it. Anything else that's like a little bit ad hoc, whether you're going to tip money in or you might be getting money back from the ATO or whatever happens to be, you might be asking mum and dad for a bit of a, I guess, a cash injection help out. Separate out, I guess, the non-core project stuff in here. So up here, you want to have projects, and then down the bottom here is any sort of ad hoc payments that are coming in overall. It could be small bits and pieces, but really separate those out and apply a lot of science to this too. If you have rubbish data in, the cash flow is going to be rubbish and you'll be flying blind, which isn't fun. So once this is all populated, this will then sort of roll through to the cash inflow section here. And this will sort of pad out, well, where are your claims and cash sitting overall? As far as the next section goes, so this is all the expenses that sort of sit in your P&L. And this will take a little bit more time to sort of massage through, but I promise you, if you inject the effort, you'll get the return on it. And what we're trying to do here is replace gut feel and emotion over the Christmas break and jam in facts and evidence. And good, bad, or ugly, we want to know where we are. If it's good, go have a great holiday. If it's bad, well, at least you can plan around it and go, what are the levers we can pull to give ourselves some cash flow relief? So where I'd start first is basic creditors. So I would push in here, and you know what your account payable balances are, or I guess any major works you have on the go. Hopefully you have a really strong purchase order system in place, because if you have open POs, you should literally be able to grab those open POs, push into this cash flow, because if it's an open PO, you've engaged a contractor. They're hopefully on site swinging the hammer or doing an install, whatever it happens to be. And if it's unpaid, you can almost just use your open PO to feed this cash flow. That's what a sophisticated builder looks like. So on here, I'd separate it out between major suppliers and trades, drop them in. I'd drop them in by creditor names, push in the cash flow items there, and be careful, it is inclusive of GST too, but it should just reflect your accounts payable ledger. Plus be a little bit careful about what works you have coming in February and March. The other section is obviously too is overheads. So the unfortunate thing with overheads is that you might go away, your trades might go away, but you still got to pay the rent, you still got to pay the phone, all the rest of it. The direct debit for the car still comes out, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you do spend a little bit of time in here getting this section right, because hopefully once you enter it once, it's just going to sit in there. Because if your overheads bounce around like a yo-yo, I mean, there's either probably poor cost controls in there, or it's probably not an overhead, to be honest. It probably should be a direct cost or a cost of goods sold. But there's a whole separate piece around how your P&L should look and how your ledger should look overall. But reach out if you have any questions or drop comments in the chat. So spend a fair bit of time getting this right. And then the reward is over here, is that it'll actually start to sort of push in all those creditors down the bottom here. So it'll actually sum up those individual items. And then just working top to bottom, these blue cells here, they're all use enters. So there's no big complex formulas up here. And we just try to, I guess, bulk them out for the big cash outflows that I expect over the next sort of 4 months. So payroll, for example, when you are entering your payroll in, make sure you enter it as net wages. So if you're paying someone $50 an hour and they get sort of, I guess, $30 in their hand, you want to enter the $30 amount. So what is the net cash that's going out? The other one too is superannuation. So that's always a bit of a kick. Make sure you get that timing right. You don't want to miss that payment, because if you miss that payment, it's not a tax deductible item. I'm getting a little bit outside my lane, but superannuation should be really high priority. And when you talk about retention and keeping staff happy, if you're not paying super, they'll obviously get pretty upset. And I think people are getting more and more aware of that sort of stuff in the background too. So please don't miss that superannuation payment. We have an online calendar. You can download it, have it tagged to your tax account, but please be all over it. And a couple of other little minor pieces too, like in Queensland here, commonly work cover gets direct debited each month. Make sure you drop that in. Be really disciplined. Payroll tax, if you're lucky enough to be a big business, you get stung with payroll tax, so another tax, drop that in as well. This is all dynamic. It's hard to break the spreadsheet, guys. Play with it, invest some effort, get amongst it. And yeah, if you break it, just either undo it, start again, away you go. ATO payments too. So you might have, I guess, an ATO payment plan in place, whatever it happens to be. Be really disciplined around stuff like that. Enter in any BAS payments, IASs, any of that sort of stuff at all. Child support, make sure you get really granular. And the final piece here is, credit card payments and the like. So please invest the energy and effort. Similar to exercise, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. If you don't give this the time and respect, these numbers up here will get more and more rubbery as time goes on. So really quickly, and just being a bit conscious of time, is you might have spent a lot of time putting this together. You've recut, you've had a chat to the better half, had a chat to a senior manager, and you just can't make this section work. You've got a couple of really big jobs starting in March, April, and the future's going to be okay, but what are you going to do around here? Now, if you come across to the right and you pop out this little section up the top, there's actually a bit of a hidden section here, which gives you quite a few ideas as to what you can do. So there is some emergency planning that you can do. in the business. And then there are some short and medium term actions that you can take yourself. So just because cash isn't looking good, there are plenty of levers you can pull to get you through this period, especially if your profit's okay. If your profit isn't okay, this is going to be a very unfun downward sliding game here. So the first section here is, this is the cash flow that you currently have. So these are exactly the same numbers as opposed to the left. So opening cash, closing cash, that rolls across to January. March is showing 12 grand closing. So it's exactly the same numbers. Up here are a couple of little drivers that you can do, and you can do something like, if we can get our sales 20% higher, either push through claims quicker, or if we can quantify some sort of gain based on the data that we have here, either pushing through sales quicker, getting claims out quicker, or a bit of a hustle, or whatever happens to be. It could be a small project you might want to push in, small reno or something like that, a bit of a sprint to the finish. Does that get us out of trouble? So this here goes, well, what's the current cash flow? If we pull the sales lever, what does that do to income? And then what does that do down the bottom? So you can play with these. Or we might want to say, hey, if we can reduce our creditors by 10%, either negotiate payment terms, push them a little bit out. You obviously be front-footed with creditors. Oh, sorry, Joe Blow from Plastering Co. Can I pay you a bit here and a bit here? What does that do to the overall cash? So definitely get amongst that. The final piece here is that if you still can't get it working, have a chat to your accountant, have a chat to Owen. He's bloody good in this space, so definitely reach out. But yeah, you're definitely not alone. Don't sit in the dark room and get stressed. There's a million levers you can pull, especially if you've got cash coming in. If you've got plenty of cash coming in, it's just timing. There's heaps of options you can do in the background. So, for example, is leaning on the ATF payment plans, high comms to your trade creditors as well. You can get quick spot loans too. You might have some spare equity in the house. Have a chat to your broker. There's a million things you can do here to sort of get you out of trouble, especially if the other side of Christmas is looking bright. So definitely take the time, energy, and effort to make sure this is right, accurate. If there's rubbish in, it's rubbish out, and you'd be flying blind again. If you have got some nasty red numbers here, don't get emotional and chuck it out the door and go, it can't be right. Engage with your accountant, and whoever it is, and go, right, what is the strategy to get out of this? Because this is the easy bit. The hard bit is going, well, what do we do?
Yeah. And to echo you before, like, high margin businesses win, right? So, there's a bunch of stuff we can do in the short and near term, but the long-term solution is usually get your margin up, fix your profitability, and have this reporting ongoing so that you have better finger on the pulse of the oxygen in your business, or the oxygen in your world.
Yeah, good, bad, or ugly. It's better to know the number, and then you can take action out of it. Insights, what do we do? Who do we engage with, etc., etc. I've pushed over this pretty quickly. There is an instruction sheet here to sort of help you through it. We'll actually embed a video, or I guess like a bit of a deeper walkthrough of this too when we do go to release this after the webinar. But if you have any questions, please reach out. If you haven't got a cash flow tool in your business, get it in there. I just can't stress enough. Otherwise, if cash is good, enjoy the Christmas break.
Dan, how often would you recommend someone go in and rejig that?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, Julian. It depends really. So if your cash flow is pretty good, I'd probably look at it monthly, to be absolutely honest. Just a spot check. Those BAS payments are absolutely nasty, or VAT, or depending on where you're sort of signing in around the globe. They can take you by surprise sometimes too, depending on the time of your claims. I'd probably do it at a minimum monthly. If you got bucket loads of cash, you maybe stretch out to quarterly, but I think that's a bit dangerous. If you're not micro measuring, you can get complacent with that sort of stuff too. I have a daily cash flow planner for businesses that are in a lot of hurt, and that's perfectly fine to use. It is a tool to get you out of the hole. So if you need a daily cash flow planner, just because the monthly one might not be enough, because the cash flow can move monstrously day to day and week to week, it's perfectly fine to do it daily. So it just depends on the urgency in the business, because you might do that. You might have 3 months worth of red, in which case I'd probably recommend going to daily and go, well, what do we do? What are the actions? How are we going to get through this? Who are we going to speak to? And what's the hustle we're going to do to make sure we get out the other side? So it depends on the business need, mate, but at a minimum monthly.
I feel like with all the Christmas shopping, I feel like I need a bloody daily cash flow checklist at the moment.
You and me both.
I'm looking at that table and I'm like, dad present, mum present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salary coming in. Pottery class.
It's cheap. It's cheerful. Like, guys, Seriously, do a pottery class.
Lean in. Send us a discount code. Oh, we're on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so good. Awesome. Hey, so guys, make sure you get that spreadsheet, because absolutely, like I said, we want to start closest to the cash, then your clients, then your community. So get on top of your money side of stuff. Now, you heard a lot of things today. If you've got Q&A, please type them in, okay? Because happy to answer all of it. But as we go right now, and Phil's just dropped the link into the chat as well. But as we go from here, it's time to sort of prioritize and execute. Time to sort of like get your ass into gear and get going. So on the last page of the checklist is a little 2-week sprint. We use this with all of our members just to kickstart things and get things moving in the right direction. I love a software and a spreadsheet as much as the next guy, but sometimes a Post-it note is what's going to work as well. So if you've got a blank piece of paper, if you've got some Post-it notes, then let's do this. Anytime we're delegating to any of our team, we would normally ask 3 management questions, right? Do you know what to do, how to do it, and when it needs to be done by? If the person that you're delegating to can answer, yes, I know what to do, yes, I know how to do it, and yes, I know when it needs to be done by, then, and they still cock it up, you probably got a person problem, right? It's time to graduate them on. But if you can answer these 3 questions, and so can they, then there's no reason that they can't execute it really quickly and really well. So what I'm going to do with you now is I'm going to ask you these 3 questions myself, which is, do you know what to do? Do you know how to do it? And do you know when it needs to be done by? I want you to fill out the 2-week sprint now, or at least identify what you're going to do, how you're going to get it done, and when it'll be done by. So today is the 30th, all right, which basically means that we've got 1, 2, 3 weeks tops, maybe 3.5 if you're working right up to the final whistle, okay? So you've got 3 weeks to prioritize probably no more than 7 or 8 actions, right? Like, let's be real. That might even be too many. And you also might not need to do that many to get the result that you're after. So type into the box now, I want to know what you're doing, if you know how to do it, or if you need some help, and then if you know when it'll be done by. So type in, what are your priorities from here? What are you going to work on? Do you know how to do it? And when will it be done by? And if you want some extra help, we can fill out this sheet for you right now, because you might go, I know what to do, but I got no idea how to do it. In which case, that's a good question, and we can answer it for you. Sort my cash flow. Get the tool, or have it done by close of business Friday. Fuck, Dan's a A+ student, hey? Look at this guy. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yep. The big one for me would be, as a, in a leadership position, get the team enrolled into the vision for next year, and make sure that they leave having tidied up all their to-dos. As Dan, ask Dan for help with cash flow, Luke. Yes, perfect. Need help, Jamie. Okay, tell us more. What is your question, Jamie? How can we help? Or is it more, that you just need to talk with Dan? What is the question? What is the question, Jamie?
Yeah, I usually say, what's keeping you awake at night?
Exactly. Yes.
What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Luca, you know where to find me, mate. Happy to help. I like this screenshot, though. It's very nice.
So let me walk you through it. So what to do would go at the top. You can print this out and put it on your wall. Break those steps down really clearly, okay? Because what we want to do is we want to work in sprints. We want to work in short little 30-minute or 60-minute sprints of getting something done and time blocking your day. Maybe doing it in the morning, or doing it in the evening, or doing it at lunchtime, sort of thing. Once you've identified the steps you need to take, you're going to write on a piece of Post-it note exactly what that action is, and you're going to put it with number 1 at the top of the pile and number 8 at the bottom of the pile on the to-do square there. then when it's done, or when you're doing it, you can move the post-it note across. And then when it's done, you can move the post-it note to done. Okay. So keeps that dopamine hit coming because you get to knock things off, but it's nice and analog. So it's not going to be hidden away on a spreadsheet, out of sight, out of mind. Build sample reference, Jimmy Lim. That might be a question for Dan, maybe, for the spreadsheet. But sorry, the more specific the question, the more specific the answer can be. That might be a bit of a question we need to dig a couple of layers deeper into.
Yeah. I'm just dropping in a link, guys. I use Calendar because I can see a few cash flow queries. I'm just going to drop a link in there if you want to book a consult. I know a bit of a shameless plug, but I'm seeing a bit of activity there just to keep it going.
100%. Hey, so I think we're in the home stretch then. If you guys aren't going to fill out the chat box, then that's cool. You must be off executing violently and working towards your Christmas deadline. So, well done to you. That's all good. But remember, download is here for the checklist, and there's a couple of downloads here as well to have a chat with Dan. And what else have we got there, dude? We've got a link through to have a chat with yourself, right?
From my side, yes.
Yep. Can you see the screen okay?
Yeah. Yeah, nice, mate. Thanks. Yeah, it just came through.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Yep. So if you want to have a chat with Dan, jump on that link. And also for the team here at the Professional Builder, we're at the end of the year and we've just done a 2-week sprint, and that's awesome. But you're probably wanting that to be part of a larger business plan or a larger plan for next year. Okay. So if you wanted to get a proper plan in place for 2024, which really unpacks your profit, unpacks your projects, and unpacks your people and process, then, we can do that between now and Christmas. It's going to take 90 minutes and we'll have a chat first just to make sure that we can both find the right time with the right team to get on a Zoom call. It's really simple, and you can book one of those sessions with myself or one of my team just by scanning that link or visiting calltpb.com. Fill in a couple of questions and we'll be off to the races, and we can have you with a proper comprehensive 2024 business plan in place so that you can go away at Christmas knowing that you've got a plan for next year, or you can enroll the entire team into the vision for the next 12 months. So, yeah. Awesome, guys.
Thanks, Owen. Really appreciate it, mate. Yeah, great advice there, guys. And I kind of mentioned it at the start as well, is that, if you haven't got someone to help you inside your business, it really is worth looking into that. Owen and the team, Professional Builder, are great. The more you invest in yourself, the more you'll get out of it at the end. And there's a couple of questions there around the recording of this, and probably to go over the cash flow checklist from Dan, because there's a lot of information there, things to do. So there'll be a recording that'll be sent out. It also goes up on our YouTube channel. YouTube channel for Buildxact YouTube channel is great because you can go and watch previous webinars and recordings that we've got on there. So definitely go and check that out. I'm just reading the rest of the ones here.
Just a final piece, just really quickly, if that's okay. Just trying to remove the bias as well. I usually sort of say the Christmas period for business owners is the time to work on your business. And we've worked with the guys over at Professional Builder, Owen and Marty, and I've worked with a few coaches, guys, trying to remove the bias, but they're bloody pretty good at it. So if you need help with business planning and all that sort of stuff, lean into it. Definitely check them out, give them a go. Yeah, definitely worth the time and effort, at least a consult anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I noticed as well is that at the start, no one really mentioned cash flow until Dan really went in and actually explained what you need to do and the things you need to take care of. And all of a sudden, people are like, "Oh, cash flow." So
yeah, it sneaks up on you. So yeah, just be a bit careful.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's why it's good to kind of come to these sessions, because the webinars that we do are free, and sometimes it can just help you kind of understand what maybe some of the focus areas are for your business. And I think December and January is kind of probably the most important time, I think, in terms of getting off on the right foot.
Yeah, Yeah. If you're waiting to plan 2024 or get ahead of your cash flow next year, then it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, even for us though, and we kind of see sometimes people will, potentially use the Christmas break to actually get set up and learn Buildxact. Not saying that that's what I want you to be doing over Christmas, but sometimes that's the best time. And if you can find a couple of hours here and there and to get your teeth sunk into it, then great. Because then before you know it, February, I feel like January just kind of disappears and Australia Day finishes, and then all of a sudden it's just like bam, everything's crazy again, and then you find that time hard to actually invest back into your business. So yeah, use that time wisely.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen on the line, great to be here. And Dan, Julian, awesome to see you guys again. So thank you very much for having us.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time, guys.
Mate. Thanks, everyone. Merry Christmas. Talk soon.
Yeah,
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Ciao.